on social media. If you see us, let us know that you are here and um vital. So May, it's just the second day of May 2021. We getting on through this thing. And I ain't mad about it. For whatever reason, like it's what in the world is going on with the damn mic? It's all been a blur, like honestly, it's all been a blur. And I think that's gonna lead us into our conversation for tonight. Um, May being mental health awareness month. I'm excited to have this conversation tonight. And it talks about energy, mood, mental illness, mental wellness, self-care, depression, grief, all that type of stuff. So everything that we deal with on a daily basis is what we're becoming aware of in the month of May. What else happens in May? The April showers that we had are supposed to bring May flowers. What
Memorial
else?
Day.
Memorial Day, yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if with everything with COVID, I haven't heard anything from. I know I went to Parker, and usually around this time we're getting ready for our big
Oh
high school reunion.
yeah.
So I don't know if all those high school reunions are going to kick up like
There
in the
was
past.
I know, like somebody one of my well, a couple of my friends from other places used to be like, so I mean, is that all y'all have to look forward to in Birmingham? I was like, oh, so is that a blow? Is that like a low blow that we like to see our friends from high school in the city? And it was like, well, no, it's just kind of strange. Like I really put a lot of emphasis on your high schools. I was like, well, yeah, kind of sort of.
Kind of is,
What is that about?
yeah.
Like, what happens? Adding to the stream, our player partner, brother Jermaine. Baby, you keep your eyes on the road. We'll just watch you, okay? All right.
Hey, man.
Oh no. See, he can't even focus. You can't do but one thing at a time perfectly. But anywho, that's what we're talking about today. Mental May, and then whatever else you guys want to talk about. 994-8949 is the number. 994-8949 is the number, so that you can call in and kind of vent your frustrations or share your thoughts, your feelings, anything that you've seen in the news. The Kentucky Derby happened yesterday, and there was some action there with protesters from the area about Breonna Taylor. Like, nah, we're not gonna let her name go. We're not gonna let this case go. Y'all gonna have to prosecute somebody. So they protested on yesterday. That happened. Anything else? What else has happened? Jermaine, did you contribute something to the group as to what was going on in your neck of the world where you may want to have some conversation about it tonight?
But he concentrating hard.
I mean, huh? And then his signal is bad. Okay, bro. Figure that out. And when you get it together, just pop back in. We got you pulled up. So let's jump straight into it. Mental health in May. Like that's what it is right now. That's what everybody's talking about. Key words of mental health. And look, I want you to just be this is an honest conversation where we, kind of coach people into what to talk about. But we know we're having these conversations behind closed doors and we're just bold enough to have them on the radio. So when you think about mental health, what do you think about?
I just look at it as the well being of a person. You know,
Just overall, right?
right?
Okay.
And I hate the fact that in our community it's kind of shunned, like, just pushed to the side. I don't want to talk about it. Just pray about it, and that'll be enough. Like, no, it needs to, like, mental health needs to be talked about. It needs to be a big part of conversation, even if it's with family, friends, relationship,
Hmm.
whatever. It needs to be discussed instead of just pushed into a closet.
I agree. When I think mental health, I think everything. I think overall, like, when somebody's brain dead, um, that's pretty much it. They end up being in a vegetative state. And so I compare that to what your life is like. If your mental is not in order, you're in a vegetative state. You're just kind of making it through, you're just surviving. And I use that particular comparison because you are looking at the mind and the mental and how it affects every piece of your body. Like your mind tells you what to eat, when to eat, how to eat, when to sleep. If you've had enough sleep, what may happen. If you haven't had enough sleep, what could definitely happen. Your emotions are controlled, and what you think about how you feel are controlled by your mental health. Your mood is driven by your mental health. So I don't know why it's so taboo because it seems to me that we all have we all have that in common. We all have a mental piece of us in common. I don't understand that. Um,
I
I
think a
know.
lot of people just honestly feel like if there's something mentally, well, everybody don't look at it in the way you described it. So
Mhm.
it's like something is wrong with me. But even if it's not mental, if you have an ache, if you have something physically going on with your body, there's something wrong with it and you need to address it. So what makes it different from if it's something mentally going on? Why does it make it seem so bad? And it's not, because mentally things can carry on to things that's physical. And
Absolutely.
so, you have to address it instead of just
Sitting
hiding it
on it.
or
Yeah.
thinking it's a bad thing, because it's not. It's not negative.
Not negative at all. For our community, and when I say our community, I mean the African American community. One thing as a licensed therapist, and I don't say that often because that's not what I'm here for on a daily basis. On a daily basis, I'm Lady Wu, the radio personality, but also at the same time, I'm a licensed therapist. And a part of the reason that I got into that field of work is because I recognized that we didn't have advocates for total wellness. Like I like to wake up in the morning and know that I'm going to have a good day. I want to be able to be at peace and one with my whole self. That's me just by myself. And I started to encounter so many people that were broken.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I've always tried to be the best that I could be for those around me. So why not do that professionally? So that's what sent me back to school to get the credentials. But even after getting into the field, I still noticed how difficult it was for people to even talk to me.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. So I'm ethically bound to keep your business your business. That's the first part. The second part, I have to try to help you find some resolve or some solution. So you're not going to just leave here still wound in the same ball that you were in when you came, hopefully. And the third part of it is I can relate. I got in this because I can relate. So not because I have every symptom that you have or every disorder that you have or I've gone through every traumatic experience that you've gone through, but I can relate. I can see it. I can hear it and you can tell me, "Well, yeah, because of when I was growing up, we all had to share so and so so and so. So now I have 500 of them because I used to have to share the one that I had." I can get that.
Right.
So I just wonder what type of conversations are we needing to have to encourage people to be okay with mental health.
I think people need to not be shameful. I know sometimes people can make you feel shameful if you express to them how you feel, but I don't think people really, they underestimate just sitting down and talking to someone and
Yeah.
just venting, like how that helps.
Mhm.
So I think when shame is took out of all of it, it'll make a big difference. But that's a big step for a lot of people to let
Just
go of
being able to
shame.
talk. Yeah, and the shame. Okay.
I think one of the biggest things is people think that they compare it to being crazy. So like the
Yeah.
stigma is, if you see a therapist, you're crazy. So that's one of the things that people don't want to be open about, having that need to see a therapist.
Hmm. But at the same time, Jermaine, like depending on what demographic, and when I say demographic, I'm going to use that very loosely because it's a demographic, it's a sub demographic. But in a certain demographic, you hear people saying, "Girl, I got to go talk to my therapist. I'm gonna call you back," or "Oh, I got a date with my therapist," and it's a thing. Like when you look at, I guess working. So first of all, let me ask a question: Do we consider, or do you all consider yourself millennials?
Yeah, for you, yeah, I think it's up to 40. Millennials turn 40 this year, so anybody that
I
below
hate.
40.
I hate to own it. Okay. But like the millennials that are working, that are exposed, we don't mind having conversations about mental health and about seeing our therapist or talking to our therapist friends or taking my medicine. Like we don't mind having those conversations. But within our same demographic, there are groups of us who would never have those conversations and who don't get that. So it's levels to it as well. There are levels to how we view mental health. I don't think any of us consider being aware of your mental health being crazy. We don't put those two together. So who is it that does that, Jermaine? Like what group of people within our group, who is it that does that?
Um, I guess the people that's not as open to mental health as, I guess, the generation of people now. I mean, even see, I wouldn't even be so free to say that millennials, quote unquote, are open to therapy or open to the need of that.
Mhm.
It's just that currently it's more open. It's more of a conversation that we're having. But I still think that there's people that's out there that feel like you're crazy because you do this stuff or you have mental issues because you go see a therapist. So they don't open it up to the other aspects of what it could be. It's only being about being crazy,
Wow.
and that's across the board.
Okay. No, that's kind of troubling. So, like, if we really think that, I mean, so okay, first of all, the people that you end up saying are crazy are the people that are who? Like, who are those people? Like, oh, he crazy. Like, what? I'm trying to figure out at this point, what's the
I mean,
definition?
I would guess. It's easy to say somebody that's bipolar. It's easy for me to say they crazy. Like just like stuff not knowing exactly what it consists of, what it entails. It's easier or
Okay.
ignorance of you saying that they crazy. I mean, where they might just have a chemical imbalance or something going on with them mentally.
Okay. Okay. So you don't know what's going on, but you just that's a simple way to just say they crazy.
Yeah.
Exactly.
People don't understand some things. Oh, he crazy. She crazy. Try to understand it first. Try to, see from a different point of view sometimes. Have an open mind. Even
Or
people
you,
that,
or even
that say they have an open
uh,
mind.
Go ahead, Jermaine.
or even a casual conversation where you talk to somebody and they do something that you find weird. So we say it's crazy. So it's cliches, but it's easy to say or to put on as a stamp of something you understand. I mean,
So when okay. People that say that, women are crazy. Jacinta, and I mean we can have this conversation all day. But y'all just crazy. Women are just crazy. Like I want to talk about that before before we go any further. Jermaine, feel free to jump in, my brother. But we hear that way more often than we hear anything else. And I'm wondering, like, when people say, because y'all all y'all crazy, women are crazy. And a friend of mine just said the other day, yeah, we're crazy when we respond to what you all do. So this is like on a man woman type thing, or the angry crazy black woman. Like, why are we angry and crazy then? Like, tell me that if you can deem a whole gender of people crazy, how? And sometimes I say, yeah, I'm crazy. Like, what does that mean during this May Mental Health Awareness Month 2021? Not crazy.
I
Crazy.
think the reaction is considered crazy. If it's not typical or the reaction that you would like or the reaction that you think it should be, or if it's an extreme reaction, I think it will be considered
Okay.
crazy.
What's an extreme reaction? So I'm saying, like, look, we joke and laugh all the time, and we say stuff that may be very left for your very right people.
Right. Mm,
What are you like? What are your thoughts on that? Like, what is self-expression when defined as crazy during Mental Health Awareness Month says what?
Like, just because I choose to be a little bit more emotional than usual,
Emotional. I like
don't mean I'm
that.
crazy. Like, I'm telling you
Oh,
what I feel. It's just
wait, wait,
because you
wait.
What
don't
you
like.
say? What?
I said, hold up now, don't blur the line.
We're not
Emotional and
blurring.
crazy.
We are not blurring
No.
the lines. We're having a vital conversation. Like, what? It's so easy to call people crazy. So I want to talk about that. Like, that it has to be some type of understanding.
Right. Like, just because you don't agree with my response or you don't feel like you did what I'm
Mm.
telling you as
You
a
triggered
response,
me.
like, yeah, like you did this. So how I'm crazy for what you did to me.
Oh,
It's
I,
like,
I, did- I
nah.
did it
Oh,
though.
oh.
I did it.
Yes. You did this. You got this reaction out of me. So that's one way that I think it comes up when speaking about, oh yeah, y'all crazy. You just have to learn how to handle women or deal with them.
Right.
And when you talk about mental health, a lot of our stuff comes from other people. It's a therapy meme that goes around all the time, and it says that you're in therapy because of the people in your life that won't go.
Mm,
And I am an honest believer that most times when I sit with my people, I hear stuff about other people.
mhm.
And I have to redirect them to, hey, this is about you. So like how can you tell me about them and what they're going through, but also find the piece of you that needs to work? Like how can you work? How can you set a boundary so that this person or this scenario won't bother you as much? comment on the screen says, at first I was not okay with the fact that or the fact that take meds or took meds when we were in school. So what you mean, Gina? Like not okay with it as far as like how they were singled out that hey, after lunch you got to go take your medicine like that. So I'm kind of I hear where you are, but what do you mean by at first you weren't okay with it, or did you get okay with it? I do want to know what you mean there. But now that we are here in 2021, after a pandemic where everybody was trapped inside and all of us were on shaky ground, didn't know what was going to happen next, a lot of people came out being able to own their mental health concerns. New diagnosis, people were able to look at themselves in the mirror and deal with grief and trauma. People noticed symptoms of how they didn't get enough rest and insomnia. Like all of this is stuff that is a part of your mental health.
Right. I think it was an opportunity. Well, I won't say opportunity, but it was a chance where you had to sit down
You had
and
to sit
sit with
down.
yourself, not just with other people that you were stuck in the house with, but like, okay, I gotta look at myself and
Yeah.
what I bring to the table or chaos or whatever's going on. That like a lot of people had to hold themselves accountable,
Yeah.
pretty much. Some people accepted it, and some people just still go about like it's not my fault.
Hmm. It's so many layers to it. I want us to be able to have an honest conversation to help somebody else that's listening that knows that, hey, I'm a little different. I accept that I'm different. But outside of being different, I'm struggling.
Right.
And I don't know that people are so comfortable or comfortable at all being able to accept that they struggle or that they um that they continue to be in the same cycles, but they don't know how to address the cycles that they're in. Like, address the cycle that you're in. And in order to do that, you have to be okay with addressing mental health for what it is. So that's what we're talking about tonight, right here on V94.9 WATV, where the V stands for Vital on Sunday nights at 7. Gina says, no, just accepting me being bipolar, me having this issue that my brain lacked a chemical component that basically determined how I processed a lot from the liking myself, dealing with underlying issues that also contributed to it. Thank you so much, Gina, for sharing that. That's very personal, and I appreciate you sharing it. So, when you can finally accept who you are and some of the issues that you may have, or some of the deficits that you may have, it makes life a little bit easier. Um, it's about accepting. I was in a conversation yesterday with a group of girls. One of the girls made a post about she can't be in a stable relationship because she has ADHD, meaning that she loses no, she said ADD. She loses focus in relationship. And I'm open about ADHD. I always talk about living with ADHD and how that is. And when you think about, well, a lot of people don't know that ADHD does not necessarily mean that you're a hyper person. That's not what that means. It means that you can hyper focus. So if I'm into something, I'm into it. I can do it for 5 hours if I'm really into it. I can organize my pens for 3 days if I want to. You know what I mean? So in a relationship, whereas you may hyper focus in your relationship and on your partner, when something changes, that's when the problems start. And it's not the person with the ADD or the ADHD. It's the other person that changed, and now the person with the disorder is trying to function because you changed. So it's about routine. And so I had to address that in a direct conversation because I'm like, I feel like people should know when they say things about certain disorders that they don't really understand, like that ain't what you mean.
Right.
I had to correct that. It's not what you think it is. Oh, I got ADHD. I can't sit down. That's no, maybe not. That may not be what that is. Oh, I'm bipolar. I go from 0 to 100. No, that's not what that is.
No. Like, stop using
If I,
that.
Sorry, that's just not it.
and even with that rule, like I wonder why are those particular ones so commonly claimed? Like,
Right.
I mean, like why you don't claim like the stereotypical ones that's
Schizophrenia.
like, yeah, like the ones that's not as attractive as the ones that you're claiming. You know what I mean?
Right. That's why. Who I don't want to be schizophrenic and I'm hearing things and seeing things that ain't there and people judging me and think I'm crazy for real. Like crazy for real. You think ADHD is something that ain't for real?
Right.
Or bipolar or OCD. Like everybody loves OCD, Jermaine. And then you go in their house and you see no patterns, you see no
Yeah, that's
organization.
it.
So where's your
That's a favorite.
OCD?
That's a favorite one.
I'm OCD. I can't tell. You're kind of okay. Hey, Blue.
What's happening? What's happening?
Welcome.
Yeah, I tried to click getting her quiet. Seemed like I'm making so much noise.
Then get in here, rub on your mic. I'm like, okay, well, welcome in.
I got a little OCD.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Can't
It's
pay
all
attention to
good. Before we go to break, how easy is it for you to have conversations about mental health with people that you are involved with? And when I say involved, I mean it on any level. Can you be honest and say, "Hey, I'm not having a good day," and that good day may not be physical; it may be just mental. Can you admit that you're depressed, or that you're anxious, or that you're having some issues? Can you admit how easy for you is it to have that conversation about mental health?
It's become over the years. It's become real easy for me.
Okay,
Like, and they'll be like, "Well, dang, you just out with it." Yes, you need to know who you dealing with at this point. But
today.
right, like, and a lot of it depends on who you are
Mm,
or what you would get from me. So I need you to know, like, yeah, I'm very transparent with how I feel.
okay.
I'm not in a good mood today. You may not want to talk to me today.
Are you aware of your triggers? What puts you in the space of not being in a good
Right.
mood?
Because like now, today, I'm not in my best mood. And because somebody triggered something that I do not like. So it's like, yeah, I'm gonna need to be alone. But I need you to know, like, this is not like punishment, but I need to be alone
I
so
need
I
some
won't
time.
say something or do something I don't need to say. But
Hmm. But if it's your trigger,
yeah.
okay.
I guess sometimes
Okay.
I don't hold myself accountable all the
Like
time.
this is my trigger, so like I'm gonna tell you what it is, but okay, I'll
Yeah.
teach you about that shortly. Blue, is it easy for you to have conversations with people about your mental health on a just a random Thursday?
Man, you know everybody know I'm crazy.
See, Jermaine, he comes in here and say everybody know I'm crazy.
Everybody know.
he blow, he killing us on here.
Hey, I'm just, uh, my wife probably know it best. But I think that a lot of people, I don't make excuses. Like this just me. I think that's like an
Mm,
immature comment because at some point, if you see it affects people, it shouldn't be you. So I wrestle with being just me. You know what I'm
okay.
saying? So I have to, if I'm not thinking about and making an intentional effort to be calmly transparent, you know what I'm saying? Because to demand space when you live with somebody, um, because you're in a bad mood, you can't really do that. I mean, you can
You
do it, but I
can.
mean, it's like, again, after so long, okay, my mama say my dog get tired. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, at what point are you gonna stop using the excuse? And I'm like that all the time. But what I have found to do is self seclude without having to say anything.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? I just, when I'm to myself, or I just go down in the garage, or I just go to Walmart, you know what I'm saying, and just walk around and buy stuff and go to the other end of the store 4 5 times just to kind of, just
Mm-hmm.
you know, one thing that I've learned, or I've grown to do over the years is self evaluation. Like how would I feel if I did what I did to somebody else? You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Look at it from other people's perspective. So
Right. All right. Well, I appreciate you for sharing that. That's a skill or a
Yeah,
learned tool.
that's a
yeah, blue,
fair
blue,
relationship,
blue
many
crazy.
It taught
relationship
you.
skill.
What you say, Jermaine?
Say, yeah, you crazy, blue.
So on
Hey,
that note right there, we are going to take our first break. We come back. I want you guys to be able to tune in, like really get into this conversation because it's something that we can have honest, open conversation about because we all deal with it. I don't want your stuff to blow up in your face because you've never dealt with it. So I think tonight's conversation should really open the door for you to be able to deal with it. Not only are we going to talk about ourselves, but we're going to talk about some people who've really lost it in front of us. And I'm sure there's a long list of people that have lost it in front of us due to so many different things: grief, substance abuse, substance use, sexual trauma. Like when you think about people and everything that people have been through, think about how resilient you have to be to walk around and still hold your head up and function in society. So when we come back, that is where we're headed. You're listening to Vital on B94.9 WATV. We'll be right back in like 2 minutes.
Let's start digging. The This is the legendary Chubb Rock. Join me this and every Sunday night from 10 p.m. to midnight for Digging in the Crates. As we play those songs.
Did you see the guy? My son showed me the video where the guy was working in a hotel and something happened with the reservation and the guy got mad. I guess he figured like the guy was trying to be racist towards him. And he was like, man, I've been having a bad day at work. Like, I apologize, it's not my fault. And he just lost it, like cracking the screen with his head. Like, yes, like he lost it. And he just started breaking down, crying, and was like, I'm tired. Like, he had the screen and was like broke the screen with his head. And he was like, I'm tired. People been messing with me. I can't take it no more. Like he had a real breakdown. And the guy was just still there feeling him like, oh yeah, this what you do? This people they hire. And I was like, my son was like, what you think? And I was like, the guy feeling was wrong. Because he was just antagonizing him more and more. Like you see this guy breaking down. What happened with your reservation was not this man's fault.
And they, yeah, and you never know where people are. Like no matter
Right.
what the moment is, it could be the last moment, it could be the moment where they just came out, but they could be headed. It could
Right.
be that last moment.
I was like, wow. Now,
My
if he,
wife, I said, she in drill in Montgomery. I said,
Money, money.
Is online. Hey, 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 check, check, check. And we are back. So the conversation today is about mental health, just overall mental health. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And we don't shy away from conversations like this on the air because we're equipped to do it. We can have these conversations um because of our own experiences and because of the world that we live in. Like this is what we see on a regular basis, people going through and different assumptions about what it could be. And I think that now the mental health conversation is becoming more acceptable. It's not as taboo as it used to be. When you think about people, let's go mainstream first. When you think about people who have had those breaks and had those moments publicly, who do you think about? That like, oh yeah. And just for sake of conversation, because this is what happens when we have these conversations, the crazy people. Britney Spears,
Kevin McCall.
Kevin McCall. Who's that?
He got the baby with Eva. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he was like he had a song with Chris Brown that had did big. I mean, it was a hit,
Mm-hmm.
top something hit single. And it's like that situation with him and Eva. I mean, I literally just watch him like just self destruct. Now it's like he trying to come back and get his singing career in. And he was talented. He had a look, and all that. It was just like, man, you know,
I remember Eva saying that basically she didn't want her child to be around him, but I didn't know what was going on when it was going on. He was physically abusive to her, right?
Hmm.
But what was the premise of his mental health issues, or what ended up coming out about it? Because I
I
hadn't heard.
I mean, I don't know. Just in my unprofessional opinion, I just feel like she was established,
Hmm.
known, and was becoming very established. And he was kind of coming up, and I just think maybe, insecurity or and stuff like that. Because I feel like insecurity is the primary base of abuse or abusive relationship,
Yeah.
and it just kind of manifests in just a bunch of different directions. But it was just kind of, I remember before he became famous doing YouTube videos singing
Hmm.
frat songs, and then he just kind of jumped out there, and I was like, man, he out there. Chris Brown, he on the single,
Okay.
and now he's struggling.
Picking up the pieces. So Kevin McCall may not be one that everybody knows. Say, who comes to mind for you?
I know some people feel over the fence, but Kanye West for me. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I know all people feel like what's going on with him is not mental, but
What
for
what are they
me,
thinking that it is?
his arrogance or him just, being Uncle Tom and, just wanting attention. But there is mental
I
issues going on for
I
sure.
think he a diabolical genius. He has that. His greatest attribute is he is extremely he is extremely smart.
Hmm.
And usually your greatest attribute is your worst attribute. And so I think sometime, and then he lost his mama in the height of his
Right.
career.
Right.
That's like, I know some. I mean, I you know some people who, if they were to lose their parents,
They would lose it.
a friend of mine. I mean, it's just you don't know what's your trigger.
Right.
It's a lot. I was having a discussion because a friend of mine had her dad. Um, he had a twin and was killed when he was 16.
Hmm.
Before then, he was super popular. Everybody wanted to be, cool with him. But now he's like mentally and been battling it for years mentally. He never came back after that.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like I think all of us one thought away from what the world considers crazy,
Yeah,
or,
yeah, yeah.
you know.
That's why I asked him about knowing your triggers. I think when, as I was asking you all to think about the person that comes to mind for you when you hear mental issues, I have a long list, and I'm just thinking about here recently: Demi Lovato,
Hmm.
DMX, Michael Jackson, Prince, Tina and Ike Turner.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that just came to mind, like right off the top. Let's go back to James Brown. Let's look at Little Richard. You think about, like, not just the songs they wrote, but like when you see their movies and see the things that they experience and how their songs pierced you. Marvin Gaye,
Ray Charles.
Ray
Yeah.
Charles, Donny Hathaway,
Billie Holiday.
Billie
That's the big one.
Holiday,
Yeah.
right? Like
After
all of
watching
these
that
people with
movie, like,
so
wow.
many issues.
Hmm.
Look, people who never have issues never succeed.
Mm.
I feel like the greatest people, again, like Kanye, the greatest people usually are affected by their greatest attribute. It's, man, I like, and everybody in the Bible is like that. Like everybody in the Bible who was somebody had this super messed up flaw, if not many flaws, that they could never overcome.
So basically, those safe people, they all right. They be okay.
They it's something about relating to people who can pull from a place that's in you.
Hmm.
You know, so I feel like that.
And it's
Like
like when he speaks on such a different level that I think a lot of people just miss the bigger picture. So automatically, oh, he
You talking
crazy.
about
No, he's
Kanye?
not. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he's not crazy. He's just speaking on a level that you don't want to go to, or you're listening, but you're not hearing what he's saying. And he's not afraid to say, like, hey, like he said, I'm the person that I will say what a lot of people won't say.
You think about DMX, and I was having a conversation with my parents the other day about DMX and like how, when people die, everybody gets into them. Like that's when you start pulling the music up and
Hmm.
listening to the songs, and you a
man,
fan. But I remember like I remember the height of DMX, and really
What?
just being intrigued by, like, first of all, how he delivered. Like, you deliver like that all the time, all the time,
Right.
all the time. That was one thing. And at the time, I didn't consider that crazy. I didn't think he was acting, but I saw a lot of passion in that. Then I started to really get into the music. I'm like, this brother is deep and troubled.
Right.
Yeah, because he'll
And
talk about something so deep, then talking about killing you and leaving you
like,
bloody.
And then I'm gonna
wow.
pray for you after I kill
And
you.
I'm gonna pray hard because he
Right.
could pray. Like he was connected in that way. So like when I hear things like that and hear people struggling openly, that's an open struggle. When you see people that go to rehab over and over and over again and they can't heal those broken pieces, and then ultimately they end up, meeting their demise from some way that's still related to their mental health. And I don't know if we don't see that or not, that's what that is.
And I think he shared so much of his pain with us. I don't even think his piece was a part of the show. We weren't supposed to see his piece. When you go through that much pain, but how he shared it with us, that's how
Like he got his
he
reward.
got his piece, but it wasn't for the world to see. It
Wow.
was something that
I
he
heard
needed to
somebody
come
say
to.
sometime your deliverance is there.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I absolutely believe that. And I look at that so differently, I guess because of that. Like I get that. I know for a lot of people, the way I look at it may not even be something that folk want to discuss. Like I stay away from everyday people going through their everyday type of struggles when it comes to death. But if and this is for people who believe in it this way. If you believe that the way you got here is the same way that you leave, like if you believe that God blesses us with babies and he sees all and he knows all, why do we seem to lose that when we lose somebody? Like I never understood why people get so just they
'Cause
lose sight of faith and everything that they believe when somebody leaves.
we want people to be here. Somebody can
Yeah.
be 80 years old, barely living, barely breathing, but you want them to stay here so you can look at them.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and again, some people going through pain. Um, I want to add this in here. I still believe, and I said it before his death. DMX and Snoop had the best verses.
They cuss so much, and I like to cuss sometimes, but that was so much.
Like to
Man,
see him sitting there dancing, like
man, they
you
was
know, he
having
was
such a
happy.
good time,
Yeah.
man. Like, and my Snoop got to be my favorite rapper because of his whole vibe.
Yeah, he just
He
I'm
just
just
Snoop. I mean,
yeah.
I get a kick out of watching the Corona commercial. You know what I'm saying? When he be dancing, it's just, man, that was the tightest one to me because I maybe because I felt both of them and where they were coming from, and how they were just. He was so happy to be there. And they were singing it. It was just I like if you hadn't seen it, YouTube
Go
it,
watch
man.
it,
Like
yeah.
it's so live.
It was an experience, but I was just like, dang, they cussing so much. I kind of was
Yeah.
uncomfortable watching around who I was watching it with, but that's who they were. So people that are true to who they are in their up moments and in their down moments. So let's look at substance abuse when it comes to mental health, because that's what y'all know. Let's just be real. Drinking and smoking socially is like the thing. That's how people celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, as they say on the morning show, big
You talking
days,
about cigars or weed?
cigars with weed in them, like
Okay.
whatever it is. We taking shots for accomplishments.
Right.
We taking shots for losses.
Yeah.
I mean, the extremes of substance use and abuse and how that plays into mental health and mental wellness. And I don't know if people actually look at it for what it is, that like, hey, this is a thing. So in the year of 2021, where we came out of where we're coming out of COVID and a pandemic, when we were all locked in the house, what were some of the main things that you bought? What were some of your top purchases?
I ain't gonna lie, for me it was alcohol.
Alcohol, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna stock this bar. Um, you got your cleaning supplies. That's cool. Blue, I know you got an abundance of cleaning supplies.
Still got all
See?
Still got them. Man, they don't look like they ain't it. Man, I still be buying stuff out the store. Like, oh man, I got a house full of stuff.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
wonder do they go bad because they definitely gonna go bad.
They might turn into like a
May
vinegar
dry
base,
out.
right?
Some stuff may dry out, yeah.
Oh my god.
But
What I was thinking.
you were in your mental. You were thinking survival. And other people, while you were buying that, they were buying miniatures, they were stocking bars, and they were buying bottles because I don't know how long this is gonna last. And it was crazy how that went. Like when the ABC stores closed and folk went ham, like
Right.
You saw what the issues were. I don't know if there were any droughts as far as folks smoking or not, but some people smoke more cigarettes. Like now I got more time to be in and out my house on the porch smoking cigarettes. Um, but ODs, overdoses reached an all-time high during COVID-19. There was an apartment complex a couple of weeks ago where 3 women died in the same apartment complex, about 2 apartments away within a couple of hours.
Mhm.
So you got to think about like when we are trying to self-soothe, what are we what are we really doing? Like what are we really looking for, and how are we what type of resolve are we looking for when it comes to mental health? Like I have a drink, of course. I have 2 or 3 drinks. But I'm not looking for that to erase my pain or erase my concerns at that moment. So I just want, like just from conversation, what do you guys think about how we don't even put that into the equation of this is me trying to deal with some reason that I'm pouring up like this.
Right. You're trying to cope some
Have
kind of way.
So I look at it like some butter.
Uh-huh.
When you first put butter on the bread, you don't just leave that hunk there. You spread it out and even it out. So I
Mhm.
feel like a lot of people use drugs and alcohol to kind of spread out the pain, so it just won't all be intense in one day. And so if I just keep drinking over time, I'll get immune or I get used to it. And what happens, I use another, it's like cleaning up the house and sweeping the dirt under the rug.
Oh yeah.
One day you're gonna have to change the rug and move the rug, and it's gonna be a lot of dirt there. And you're not gonna be able to, I always say when they pull up, it's gonna demand your attention because you ain't gonna be able to. That's why they had those breakdowns. That's why they had those setbacks because you've been thinking the
And then you get
alcohol.
drunk and you thinking some more.
Yeah.
Like ooh.
And I
So
know a lot of people I've heard a lot of people that's on drugs to say, well, it just made me numb. I didn't have to
that
think
is the
about it.
word.
But when you come down from that high or not being drunk anymore, then you still have to deal with those issues. So it's like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, let me go back and do it again.
Got to keep going,
And
right?
that's when it becomes a problem. You become an alcoholic and you become a drug addict where you just have to have something every day, all day to numb you so you won't feel it instead of
Turn it up.
Yeah. Got a comment right
So,
here says I have become an alcoholic during this pandemic, and to be able to own that, like I, I applaud you for posting it and for owning it. Like some people say, well, what else is there to do? I did everything else, so I'm gonna have a drink. And then after one, it's two, it's three, then you go to sleep, and then tomorrow do the same thing again. Drinking has become very it's just as popular as having a conversation about who's toxic and who's not, which is where I want to head to next. We're going to take a quick break
question
in
for you.
just a few minutes. But before we go to that break, I want to read this comment from Glamour Girl. She says, when I'm good, I'm good. And that's usually after weeks of meds. And then I'm like, I'm okay. So I may slack up on taking my meds. Not as to say, oh, I'm good, but I do be good. But even on my meds, I have days that tears come and won't stop. And it's like bad, and it gets bad for days. My last bad patch lasted a year. Can you imagine? So I'm in this funk, I'm in this space, and I'm crying and I'm broken and I'm trying to figure it out, and I get stuck in that for a year. That's hard. But the first line of what she said was about taking the meds. And people don't want to take their medication,
right.
but they'll drink, they'll smoke, which in turn tells me that there's definitely a chemical imbalance because you're trying to level out. You're trying to get it, you're trying to. But I don't want to take my meds though. I need some help understanding that. So if you somebody else that's listening that feels like I'm okay, and I've had moments of where, okay, I'm cool, or either I don't want to take today because I just don't. I have clients who I ain't taking no medication. I don't like the way it makes me feel. It balances you out. It makes you feel probably how you should feel. But folk don't be want to do that. And you work in the field. Like, why folk don't want to take their medicine? What is that about?
Like even I see so many older people that's like, well, I don't want to take this blood pressure medicine because it made me feel this way. But sir, ma'am, you know what'll happen if you don't take this blood pressure medicine, right? I don't care. I die anyway.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So,
Oh.
and that's
Ooh.
the mentality that people have. I don't know if it's a mentality of I don't know, but
You can make children take medication. You can't make an adult take medication. Not really.
No, because they'll find everything wrong with, well, it made me feel like this, or I feel like that, or I feel better when I don't take it. But for how long do you feel like you feel okay without
Right.
taking
I take my
Right.
medicine every day. But I
Did you
had
have to get to that point?
yeah. Well, nah, cause at first they used to try and give me stuff that used to make you not be ready in the morning, if that make any
Mhm.
sense.
Mhm.
I ain't with that. That's like
Yeah.
I
that's
don't
like
want that.
That's why a
yeah,
lot of men don't
I
like blood pressure
need
medicine.
that, man. Like in the morning, I need to be ready. I mean, even if nothing
I
going
gotta
on,
get ready for work.
yeah,
You gotta be ready for work.
I gotta be ready. Some of them medicines, they finna kill all the readiness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was like, nah, this ain't me. And so they found one that don't cause unreadiness. So I was like, now it's like a habit. Um, yeah.
Okay. So for you, I want to feel balanced every day. But so for other people, like where's their symptoms? Some people have coped a long time without any type of medication, like
That's
nothing.
dangerous though. Like it's kind of to me that's like playing Russian roulette because what happens on the day that you're not able to cope and you've been dealing with it for so long, like it's gonna come out. Like when it come out, just think of pimples. I be wondering I look at Dr. Pimple Popper.
Hmm.
I be like, who lets a pimple get that doggone big?
First of all,
You know what I'm saying? More the size of a whole watermelon in your head or in your eye. Like, where your tweezers and something. So it's like they let it get to that point of infection, and now they want to, you know what I'm saying? And so and thing is, a lot of times she don't show it because she used to it, but them things stink. So I like using metaphor. So it's just that's to me that's your life. Like you've allowed this infection to grow into now you have to get it surgically removed.
parents, and I'm gonna talk about this. We got about 5 minutes before the break. From an adult standpoint, I get what you're saying, but then parents of children who suffer with any of these disorders, be them behavioral issues. So that may be ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder. These are children that people may just say, "Oh, you bad as hell." Basically, they just need to get beat. Not necessarily. ADHD, ADD, those are two others. They say that, black boys are the most highly diagnosed with ADHD in the world and always have been. Throw them some Ritalin and put them over there.
I was on Ritalin when I was young, man. I ain't like that Ritalin. It used to feel like I took a, now that I think about it now, like I took a gummy or something.
And that's what you hear. That's why
Like
children be like, I don't
I ain't
want.
never had no gummy, but I'm just saying that from what people talking about.
Um,
But yeah, it's like I used to be in class, just like can barely like lift my head up. I used to be dizzy. I remember, and I remember telling them like, man,
I don't
I
like this.
but I didn't know that that's what I was basically sedated, and
Yeah,
I
we
ain't
need.
know that.
And so you think about, okay, so that's going to take us into the second half of the show, and I'm going to give a personal story of my own as well, which I've told bits and pieces. But I had a client's mom to tell me, I need you to tell the story of ADHD live, and I'm like, why she want me to go live so bad? Like, what is this? But I don't think people will understand it until you make them understand it how you made me understand it. I was like, cool. But just from her asking me to tell the story, I'm like, I got to find the motivation to do it. That's one of the key elements of ADHD. Like if that ain't something I want to do, I ain't gonna do it. And people don't get that. It's not that I can't do it. I can't do it. And so that was how I kind of taught her to get with her son on understanding like where he is. We gonna meet in the middle. He tells me he can't do it, and I don't understand why he can't do it. Ma'am, he can't do it. He's not motivated to do it. Well, what can I do? There are things you can do. Have a conversation. Start with conversation. Said it best first half of the show. Mental health and conversation, communication is key. We got a couple calls. I'm going to take one before the break. Caller, you're in with Vital on V94.9 WATV. What is your question, comment, contribution to the conversation?
Hey, Lady Wu and the crew.
Hey,
Hello.
How are you all this evening?
we are great. How are you this evening?
That's great. I'm just doing outstanding. other than just a little issue I'm dealing with right now.
Uh-huh.
But I'm just thankful to be here, and I'm glad to hear you all having this conversation. It will help a lot of people. I would like to see us get to the day as a race of people where we're able to share openly about what we're going through and to talk about it and stop making mental health taboo in our community. Conversations like this can help a lot of people. When we see a family member dealing with drugs or alcohol and they don't know how to function without it, I think families should be able to say, hey, this is what's happening. Let's see what we can do to help. So I just wanted to see you all's thoughts about that. And thank you for taking my call.
For sure. Thank you for calling in. So we will definitely get into that in the second half. All of us know friends and family members who um cope the way they cope, be it dope, be it alcohol, be it whatever, cutting, all of these different things, and we'll see it, we know it, but we won't say it, or we don't know how to say it. And we will talk about how to do that in the next half. I saw another comment that said they were gonna call in. Give us a few minutes to pay these bills. We'll be right back. You can definitely call in. The phone lines will be open.
Has ravaged our community. We've
Man, I
experienced
thought that
far
was
too
the
much
dude
pain
that
and
was saying, "Hey,
frustration.
lady,
But
boo."
our amazing
I was
medical
like, how she
professionals.
always get in?
Is that James? I went to high school with him. Yeah, elementary school too. He graduated. He worked up there at Piggly Wiggly as far as that. Yeah, I went to Lewis with him and Parker with him. It's okay. But the thing of it is, he loves Birmingham artists. Like
because I just did what I wanted to do. But initially, I was taught respect and manners.
Yeah.
I don't even cuss around my mom now, and I can. You know what I'm saying? Because I just got a respect for her.
Mhm.
I might slip and say something about fussing at one of my children,
Yeah.
but it's just it's just I'm still yes sir, yes ma'am. I don't say yes sir, yes ma'am to police, but anybody else I say it to.
So
But
you still oppositionally
I'm
defiant.
not gonna say no yes sir. I don't know you, like I don't want you to even like no.
I get
Um
that.
yeah. But it's just anybody else, elderly people, yes ma'am, yes sir. Um and I just feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. So I was taught that conduct as a child.
Mhm.
It was embedded in me as a child, and it was something that I was able to go back to, and when I kind of got myself back together. So I feel like that with kids, if you give and shoot, they tried everything they can to find out why I was acting the way I act. They sent me to the psychiatrist. I remember Dr. Mendengal. We
Uh-huh.
used to play tunk, in the, you know what I'm saying, and I don't know what he was doing, you know what I'm saying. But it just I remember that as an adult, like, you know what I'm saying? It's people out here that, know how to do what they do. But it's just we can't make it cliche or taboo and make it seem like it's a weakness
Right.
or a
or
joke.
failure.
Or a joke,
Yeah.
right. So let's move into, so that's parents to children who have some different things going on. Like when you see your children are socially, we say socially awkward. If it's socially awkward and you can notice it, you need to see what's going on. Like if you have a child that doesn't do crowds, they don't want to be around people, they only want to sit by me, they don't look people in the eye, they don't make straight eye contact, they don't, all of these different things. I would think that I would want my child to, Gina said something in the comments about normal and the standards of normal. If I know that there's a standard of normal that's going to allow my child to succeed and not be bullied or not be bothered or not feel less than, I'm going to do my job as a parent to make sure that my child is getting that attention.
Right. Because my middle daughter, she's very socially awkward. Like, and she'll tell you, I don't like being around people. I don't
Mm.
like talking to people. I don't need friends.
Hmm.
I like to do what I do by myself. But I've made a mission to, hey, you can talk to me anytime you want to.
Yeah.
I don't care how weird or awkward you think it is. Come and talk to me because I may feel the same way you feel.
Right.
And we have those conversations, and she'll say, "Ma, I didn't know you felt that way. I sure do,
Like, girl, you got it from me.
and like now she
Mhm.
like sometimes I had to tell her, girl, give me a minute. Like, and she'll say, oh mother, but
So she's found her space.
hmm
What, I mean, were you ever concerned about it?
I was like, even when she was 3, 4 years old, me and her dad jokes about her more than I do because he'll say, she my special child.
Hmm.
And so, she just was quiet for a while. Family members didn't think she would ever speak. And
Hmm.
then all of a sudden, she had this moment where she did talk a lot. And then now again, I don't have anything to say. I'd rather be by myself.
If you can express that and you can verbalize it, hey, it's not that anything is wrong. I'm just more comfortable quiet.
Hmm
I can respect that. But if I see other behaviors, if I see like unhealthy isolation, or if I see marks or tracks, as they say, like where you cut, or if I see, just your behaviors changing, then I'm concerned. But you're having conversations with your
Right.
child. Um, the personal part of this story for me, I was high energy as a child. So when I see blues kids, like I tell you this all the time in that video that you like I see your kids in me and my brother. Just do you remember how I was?
Yeah. If I went doing my own crazy
Right. Like it
stuff.
was always, like it's always a show, it's a production. But that's how I exerted my energy. And my parents allowed, like I guess they kind of figured like, okay, well, let her do let her do that. Let her say that. And it turned into what my profession is. But I often talk about how I struggled in school. And it wasn't that I wasn't focused, but I did not understand math. I didn't get it. So once I didn't get it, it was just like, well, you know, uh, I didn't get it. I never got it. So I remember third grade, they were called in for a parent teacher conference to Charles A. Brown Elementary School with Miss Harris. Miss Harris used to wear MC Hammer baggy pants in the middle of the crotch. So I remember that. Okay. So they come in, she had just been teaching us times tables, multiplication tables. And that was so foreign to me, but she was using lima beans to teach it. And I guess she gave me like 10 or 11, maybe 12 of them, and was asking me, like, okay, so show your parents 3 times 3. I line them beans up like however. I don't know because I don't know what it is that you're teaching. My parents would have me in tutoring, you know, reviewing homework, going to the church after church trying to get it, but I did not get it. However, they saw where I was good. I was good with writing, singing, acting, producing shows. That's what they that's what they put me in. That's what they pushed me to what I was interested in, which helped me. Um my brother on the other hand, because boys, y'all be a little different. We got to do something for him. He gonna have to take some medicine. Medicine was too strong. It wasn't calibrated right. So he ended up not taking it anymore. And then life continued to happen. I did not I did not really embrace what I had going on for real, until I was a professional in the mental health field and knew that at this point, in order for me to operate a business, tend to a child that is educationally smarter than me, I need to figure out what's going on. So I told my doctor what it was because I knew I'm a licensed mental health professional. I need some medicine for ADHD. Let me get that. And my thoughts were organized. I still can't do math, but I can count my money and I can tell you when I'm going to be late and when I'm on time. I know my triggers. Um I know what comes with that for me. I know what that is for me. So I know what it is for other people who may have it like I do. But then it's just on the spectrum. Some people may have it like Tasmanian devil. Like it could be it's levels to it. So that's why I'm not ashamed of sharing that. um you have to pay attention to your children and you have to give them what they need, but you also have to kind of see and ask the questions and see where they're not succeeding.
And I think that's at first why I was messing up with my son because I was like, well, why you don't do this and why you don't do that? And it got to the point where he just broke down and started crying and he was like, I cannot
Hey,
answer those questions for you because I would get mad. Like you gonna tell me, answer it. And
you
he
you
like,
that mama. I
I
said
can't.
what's 2 plus 2.
Right. No, even with anything, like,
That my wine, boy.
he's
Like I
like,
just told you,
I
I don't know.
can't. I don't know. And we
I
have
was
those memes and
like,
videos where you make the jokes like, boy, you get the bill and all that. But he was like, I can't. I'm
Two
telling
apples
you.
right here
Right.
and 2
If
apples right.
Johnny take this apple and he had
Mom,
3, like I
just because
don't
you're getting louder don't
know.
mean I know.
Right.
I
And
still
I
don't
had
know.
to learn to calm down from that.
Thank you,
So
I told him
Spencer.
why I said you got to finesse McKenna. Like you got, because once you start yelling, she's shutting down.
Yes.
Brain closed.
Yeah. It could be that, or it could just be your fit. It's not. Look, there are certain obstacles for different people, and if your brain is wired a certain way or short of some chemicals, it it just ain't there. It ain't gonna happen. You can scream. You can put it on a bulletin board. We can go over it every night. I don't care. I'm not motivated. I don't get it, and I'm about to go do something else. That's ADHD in a nutshell.
right.
You want me to go get what from the store? And while you telling me your list, I'm thinking about everything I can do with the items that you just told me. Okay.
Dang.
I think I need to go
Nah,
to a doctor.
I'm
'cause
telling
I'm thinking,
you.
like,
I'm telling y'all, this stuff is that. This is why we had to have the conversation. It's not as far fetched as you may think. Okay, caller, you are in with Vital. What's your comment or your question?
Hey, how y'all doing?
We are great. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I just want to call in because I know y'all talking about ADD, ADHD. Now, from my personal experience, you're talking about somebody who's been tested 3 times. As long as last time I was tested was the United States Navy.
Okay.
I'm ADHD combined type and ADHD.
Okay. Okay.
And so that's what a lot of people don't understand. And where it's kind of disrespectful, and why I feel certain disrespect when I have like when I talk to certain women, they say, "Well, I think my child he got ADHD, he got ADD," and they think just because he don't pay attention or just because he don't listen or because
Right.
whatever they might think they have a hard time. Oh, he had ADD. That's not what it is. It's not what that is, and I take very offense to that. And because people don't understand and read that ADHD and ADD, for one, is two different things. It's
Right.
not just it's not just not paying attention,
Mhm.
and it's not just being hyperactive. You know, like I said, for those folks who don't know, attention deficit hyperactive disorder and attention deficit disorder, that's what ADD and ADHD is. I went to Homewood High School. I had an IEP.
Yeah.
Now you talking something. For those who don't know, it's an individual education plan. Now coming from going from Princeton Elementary Alternative School, which
Yes,
was
sir.
gifted, for those who know, gifted school in Birmingham City school system, and then going to Homewood, which they thought of Princeton was alternative school, which they think is white folks school. That thing that's a school for bad kids.
Mhm.
When in turn I was labeled as one of those teachers. Well, I had you as an IEP. Now, from the first grade, I was in Adderall, Strokeling, Strattera, Abilify, Concerta, Ritalin. I know all those. I've been on all those since I was first grade. When I was in first grade, my first grade teacher thought I was retarded.
Yeah.
Now I'm running for city council.
All right.
So you got to understand, with that being said, is also now I haven't been on Adderall since I was in the Navy, and it's been about 10, 11 years.
Mhm.
With that being said, it goes to know how you understand. You have to understand your child. It's not like, okay, getting frustrated. Oh man, you're doing this wrong. You won't listen. You have to understand, for one, how your child learning. You have to do that learn visual. Are they a
There you
visual
go.
learner? Are they a verbal learner? Like, how do they picture learning? And, you know, this learning disability is not even disability. Everybody learns
It's
different.
different. Right.
So you have to understand and know your child instead of getting frustrated, because your child's like, oh man, I might understand, but yet you might not be portraying them in the way that they know how to learn, or that it's like, okay, visual. All you got to do is like algebra. Like when I was in algebra 1, like I knew, like all the teacher had to do was work it out on the board one time. I ain't need a calculator. I ain't have to show my work. I knew the answer. The teacher would say, oh man, how you know that answer? I mean, I worked it out in my head. I don't need a calculator. Well, we gonna show you work. Well, I worked it out in my head. And so it was like, man, you know, math was my best subject. And, you know, I didn't like to read. And also I was labeled as class clown or whatever.
Yep.
But at the same time, you still have to learn and teach your child their purpose. When you know your purpose and when they know themselves. And also, my mother was a big thing. She didn't want me. She knew I had a disability, and she read up on it. But at the same time, she didn't want me to use that as a crutch. So that also me to know that when I'm taking those medications, when I'm without medication, how am I? Like, I'm over energetic. Like, some people like, oh man, you so loud. I mean, like, yo, what up, bro? They're like, man, why you so loud? I'm like, it ain't loud. I'm like, man, what up? And then, but if I'm on Adderall, I'm like, yeah, what's happening, bro? Yeah.
So he's really able to explain from experience how this can go and what it can look like. I really appreciate that call, Mr. Poe. Let's go to the next caller. Caller, you're in with Vital on B94.9 WATV. What's your question or your comment?
You know, I can identify with what you all are talking about. I tell you, when COVID hit,
Mhm.
I got my grandson with me. And for some particular reason, when school was in, he could never get it. We argued, fussed. Granddad, I don't know. Granddad, it was just, couldn't never get it right. So when COVID hit, they sent us home, and he had to learn on the computer. Bam! It hit. And every switch in his head came on, and
He said he was switching it.
it's popping and locking that. It's popping and
That's
locking.
what's up.
Man, it was like when the kids going back to school, he said, Granddad, I don't want to go back. He said, I'm fine just like I am.
That's what's up.
I mean,
So he found his thing.
Yes, he did. And Lord,
Hey man, let me get him some applause. That's amazing. Thank you. Like when you can find your way and find your thing, it makes the ultimate difference. And that's why I say that, a lot of us are different. We're different in our own ways, our own rights. And even in being different, you still struggle. So therefore, you have to talk about what you're struggling with. You have to try to find the right people to help you, which may be your therapist, it may be your psychiatrist for medication, and it may be just a group of strong supporters who can share their stories to let you know that, hey, it's okay and this is what I do. I don't know who it is you need to find. For this baby, he had to find virtual school. Maybe it was too many other elements going on that distracted him. But I appreciate that caller. One more call. Caller, you're in with Vital on B94.9. What's your question or your comment?
Hi, can you hear me?
We hear you.
Hi. Okay, so I've been listening and tuning in, and I like what you just said about you have to find whatever it is. And it's just how it was for me growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I was I'm about to tell my age when I say this. Back in the day, they used to have something called Chapter One.
I got
I
my
think they
chapter 1
call it.
certificate out. I just took it out yesterday.
And see, and so everybody wasn't in that, and
Right.
I never had anybody to explain. And I would always just remember, in elementary, I went maybe 3 grades. I went to Chapter One. We just thought it was
Mhm.
some fun reading class. We were special, not special in a bad way. We were just
We were
looking
we were
forward to getting out of
special,
class.
right? Right.
So okay, so they didn't get me in middle school, but they got me in high school, maybe two grades out of that, and it still wasn't explained. We didn't care to ask either. We just know for an hour we will be back when they finish with us,
Yeah.
and then you sit down and you would read or listen, and it was just really like that. I mean, you go back to your regular class. So I'm in the healthcare field. I had the opportunity to meet a person that said she taught Chapter One, and she just broke it down. I said, well, thank you. All these years, my mama didn't explain it. They didn't explain it to her. My progress reports would say stuff like easily distracted,
Mhm.
things like, very creative, but, outbursts in
Yes.
class. And so as I grew up, I mean, when I first went to college, I thought I diagnosed myself.
Yeah.
So I really never did get a proper diagnosis, but I'm just here to tell you that, through much prayer, I was able to go and become a registered nurse. And I didn't read different. My peers in the study group said you studied different. I
Mhm.
studied backwards, but I had it. And they would say, how did you get it? That's my part I'm referring to when you said you have to find your way.
You have
It
to
worked
find
for
your
me.
way.
And it just so happened that things lined up. I had a tutor in nursing school. I didn't know that was coming. Like God lined up that. I got scholarships. I got stipends. It was just all kind of support, and I really need that. I didn't learn in the classroom. I learned from study groups, and it worked for me. You have to find out what
What
works for
works
you
for you?
because readers' anxiety says even now. That's what I kind of dealt with. I suffered with readers' anxiety, and it wasn't that I was slow.
Mhm.
It fatigued me to see all of that stuff on the page. I
Exactly.
never had a problem spelling. I never had a problem pronouncing. I could tell you this what I read, but to just keep reading, I get overwhelmed. And nobody ever told me, any proper, this is why you're doing that. But I struggled because if I knew I had to read 2 and 3 chapters, to me, somebody else in the class may say I read it and they were fine, but for me
It
that
just
was
was different.
anxiety.
Well, thank you so
Yes.
much. Thank you for tuning in and for calling in too. I really appreciate that. Keep listening. I relate to that. Like English language, I'm a beast at that. I write a paper, I could grade papers, I did all of that type stuff. But when it came to numbers, it was just an overwhelming thing. And then like you give me some numbers and some letters, I'm about to go skip. Like we finna
Like
go do
what
something.
y'all said
I'm about to
last
go
week that
dance.
MX equals
Girl, I
Y.
was
Like
like, what
what?
is that? Don't play with me. Don't bring that in here. We don't do
I
that
like I'm
here.
skipping today.
Me too, blue, baby.
And I look back in high school when I used to do that, even though I had, depression going on along with it.
Hmm.
I'm not feeling it. I don't want to learn this. I'm going back home. And it wasn't that I was out doing bad. I'm just going home and get into bed
Yeah,
and go back to sleep.
yeah. And see, I didn't have that. Like everything else was well rounded, but there was this deficit, which is a chemical imbalance. You know, the reason. So another part of it is the guilt that parents may feel. And my parents, they may be like, "I wish you would stop telling this story because it's talking about us too," but not necessarily. Um, a lot of mental illnesses or diagnosis, all of them are not considered mental illnesses. But I will tell you, if it's in the DSM-5, which is the book that we diagnose by, the medical book that we get all of our symptoms and everything from, it is what it is. So ADHD is there in the book. ADD is there in the book. Erectile dysfunction is there in the book. Everything is mental. So for a lot of these disorders, we don't know where they come from. You don't know where they stem from. There are some studies that will say, where they come from, lead. So, born in the 80s, we very well could have had some lead paint popping and whatever. Like you don't know what was going on. You just know that, hey, this is what it is, and we got to figure out how to live a fruitful and productive life with it. And for the most part, I think a lot of us have learned how to do that. Blue, what you got? I saw you like taking mental notes or like having flashbacks or something over there. What
I
was it?
just like when you think about, see this, like I feel myself when I'm like when too much stuff happening at once and feel like I'm losing control of
Yep.
everything. I have to be intentional and just stop. And so like I own my psychological situations. Like I own them. Like I wish somebody would and try and think they gonna shame me.
Yeah.
I tell people now, you better be glad that I'm know how to change because you'll be in trouble. You know what I'm saying? Like big trouble. Um, but it's like I just think that people need to stop comparing. Like, how thick is that book you said?
Bro, like 500 pages maybe.
You know what I'm saying? So that's 500 different ways with 500 different personalities and hundreds of thousands different like it's just everybody is different. um and I think that's what I'm sometimes I get kind of fascinated with by therapy and stuff like that, because it's a challenge to make this particular situation make sense with this particular person,
Yeah.
because it really doesn't. It might work with like read. Man, I used to be like, let me read because I'm a reader, and I can read 4 or 5 words in front of what I'm actually saying.
Okay, so you
Like
you gifted.
I was gifted in reading. I was actually gifted in math until I used to make like 100s or 99 and all them tests. I made a 28 on my ACT.
So one would then have to ask, well, what the hell was wrong with you, boy?
I just like that. I like trouble.
You know what I'm saying? Like
like
somebody would ask that. Y'all
like
got all this different stuff going on. You got two parents in the household. You go to church. You're this, you're that. You got this. You're making these type of grades. You decent looking. What's wrong with you?
I just like that rush. And what happened is I like the rush and the adrenaline of it until it became me. You know what
Oh.
I'm saying? And it's kind of like drug. Like we had said something before the break, and I know you probably like blew it asleep, but I was literally going through like some stuff in my head, like how people like drug addiction in family. What have you ever met anybody in a family, your family, anybody else that got off drugs literally the first time they tried? You know what I'm saying? It's usually the eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th time that they get off. That's why I feel so bad for people with drug addictions. You know what I'm saying? Because they always one situation away from a relapse. And it's just like, man, it's just like I almost trying to ignore it, because to me, I just feel like once you, and I mean, I'm not generally speaking. I know there are people who literally got off and stopped and all that good stuff. But I'm just saying that's a very, very small percentage. Add in factors like poverty, um, not being able to get a job, not having family, not having support systems. And I mean, you kind of get right back in that situation. And you got to think, didn't they say Prince overdose?
That's what they
He
said.
probably was so he had issues, but was so afraid to not be Prince to everybody that he probably didn't get the proper help he needed for whatever situation he thought can be fixed through the drugs. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Um, it's crazy. I don't know, man. It's so many. When I was a firefighter, Wolf, and we used to be in, go in people's
Plug that in
houses.
for me, please. Uh-huh.
I used to always look and see what they was watching on TV.
Huh.
Like I just was always curious to see what somebody was looking at on their television. So we be in the house, and you just be surprised how some people watch the weirdest stuff. You think nobody is flipping the channel through, and I'm fascinated with the difference in people. Like I'm really fascinated in my kids and
Right.
how they, you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah,
Like
it's
even being both your children or all of your children, and then they're all still different.
like literally, like my oldest boy, he'll be 23 this week. Man, he's so quiet and so just smooth. You know what I'm saying? Actually, both of my oldest boys are just smooth
Just
and
different
quiet.
demeanor.
But man, you get McKenna and CJ, man. CJ doesn't know how to talk in a inside voice. He yells everything, no matter where we are.
Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, you're in with Vital on B94.9 WATV. What's your question, your comment, or your thoughts?
Well, I'm glad you all having this conversation tonight because it make me think about myself. When I was in school,
It's
you know,
real.
I was in a slow learners class, and I just couldn't get it. But once I left there, um, everything came full circle.
Yeah.
I'm 50 years old now. I own 15 houses.
All right.
You know, retired early. But for some reason, reading, I couldn't read.
hmm
That was a challenge, even now. But when it comes to making money, flipping houses, man, I can do that with my eyes shut.
So you had to find your thing.
Yeah. I had to find my niche, man, and now, I'm doing pretty good for myself.
That's awesome. You got some houses
But
on the east side.
nah, all mine Southwest.
Okay, I know some folks.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
All
So when you think about just how life has happened, 50 years old, been out of school for a minute. When did it click?
I guess when I was about 23 years old, I bought my first house and I started working on it myself. And from 23 to 25, I bought my second house,
Mm-hmm.
and it just snowballed. It just kept going.
Okay.
And then I started flipping them, started selling them, and it just something that I stayed in. I
Awesome.
found my niche.
That's what's up, and I hear the victory in your voice. Like that really means a lot when I can hear people they found what they needed, they found what worked for them, and now they can live a life where they don't feel shorted or slighted. Like we,
Yeah.
it's a liberation in that.
And see, that's society's problem is we feel like if you don't get a 4-year degree or a master's degree or a doctorate degree that you can't have a
Mm-hmm.
certain kind of life, but everybody's not meant for college.
Right.
And some people can find their niche, like he said, with 15 houses. He ought to be making what doctors make.
For sure.
You know what
Absolutely.
I'm saying? I know people with 10 houses that make close to $10,000 a month aside from their other job. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I mean, it's just when you find what works for you, it helps your mental and it helps your life, your environment.
Absolutely. Once your mental is in order and you feel accomplished, life changes. So I'll close on that tonight, but we got about 30 more minutes. Caller, you're in. What's your question, your comment? What's
Hi,
up?
Woo. It's Jana.
Hey,
And
Gina.
like listening to all of y'all, like listening to you. You know, we went to school together,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
I just always did my own thing, so I was never paying anybody else any attention. But to hear you say like you would be like I'm over this, I would skip, and I never understood why I skipped. Like I said, when
Hmm.
I was 14, I left, I ran away. I had to go talk to a therapist because I got to a point I didn't want to talk, but I was a cutter. Like
Hmm.
I just had a lot going on, and it's like I don't process how everybody else process, but stuff was really easy to me. I always understood stuff at a young age, like when I was younger, like how y'all talked about chapter one reading. In
Yes.
my brain, it was like, why they get to go and I don't get to go? But like I was tested for gifted.
Okay.
Everything came to me easy. So in my brain, once my teacher told me, it's not that you don't get to go. This is why they need to go. It's like, well,
Right.
can I help them? Because you explaining it to them and they not getting it. And I think I can explain it and they could get it. Take it full circle. My youngest daughter,
Uh-huh.
it's like, why you don't get this? I'm smart, your dad is smart, like we were smart. Why you
Yeah.
not getting this? And like her being home with me in my head, it hindered her. Because when she got to school, it was like, okay, that pressure is not on her. I'm not putting that pressure on her. And
Mm.
it's crazy because if you sit back and listen, like everything y'all said, it's like a fast forward, go back fast forward. Because I felt pressure, go to college. You're smart. You're supposed to go to college. You're supposed to be like this. I'm 38 and I'm like, I wish somebody just would have told me get my own business.
Hmm. Do,
Like,
do you
that's
think
weird.
that do you think like even knowing what you knew and having the struggles that you had, if you were motivated in a different way, life would have been different?
it would have been completely different. Like, here's the
Hmm.
thing. I went through the Habitat program.
Okay.
They have you go through classes. You have to do classes. I went through a credit class. Like, people paying folks to fix their credit. I'm not doing it. I went to a class. I got it. But also there was the physical side of it, the actual building of the house, and that's when I figured out I like making stuff with my hands.
Okay.
I got into craft, and I do things like that, but I like doing things with my hands. So when I look at my kids, it's like, okay, you can go to college, but I don't want you to just be bent on this what you gotta do, because I want you to know you can create your own lane. Like I said, my daughter, she struggles a little bit. She's not a reader.
Hmm.
She struggles, but when I tell you, you can talk to her. Her vocabulary is off the scale. She has a understanding, like, you like, okay, you really understand.
Hmm.
So I know just because she learn different, it's not gonna be a hindrance. And like
Right.
I said, you just have to know your kids, because I got folk that completely different. Some of them it comes super easy. Some of them they just need a little extra help. And I know with her, she just gonna operate different.
And that's what it's about. It's about being able to own that I can operate different. And in the comments, you put something about being normal.
Hmm.
And some of us know, like at the gate, I'm different. And now that's a thing too. It's I'm aware that I'm rare. That's a whole campaign. But the other side of that is being bullied for being different. Like when you can't fully understand who you are, you don't
Hmm.
have the village to tell you that, hey, you're different is cool. It ain't nothing wrong with it. You're different and it's okay. I got you. How can we, now that we can look back, Gina and Sam and Blue, and have this conversation publicly about how we came out of it, how can we encourage parents to really get with their children on being different?
I mean, far as with me, I can remember being in first and second grade and just not wanting to go to school. And I couldn't tell you why I didn't want to go.
Hmm.
I couldn't. I got bullied, but I couldn't tell you why I didn't want to go. I would just be depressed. I can get up some mornings, and my kids know I'm just like one of those mom that holler. Like he said, you just do a lot of hollering. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's not them.
Like, Mom, it's you.
But yeah, like my, it's really you, because that's what my older girl said. Like, stop hollering. But with them, I can talk to them and I can say, you just having a day, and they be like, yes. I think for the most part, parents just gotta recognize. Don't always just jump to medication.
Yeah.
Just recognize. Just start asking questions. Sit back, be like, do I really do that? Or I do that? Well, let me see why he do this, because I know why I do it.
Okay.
And it was like, okay, my kids really be sad. They can't tell me why they sad. They just having a day, and I don't want you to go to school and have a day, because I remember
Having to
just
go to
being
school, having
sad.
a day.
Yeah, and then you get in high school and you be like, I'm over this, I'm skip,
Yeah.
and I did that.
Wow. So, like, really asking the tough questions. Thank you, Gina. I want to take this caller here. Caller, you've been waiting for a minute. What's your question or your comment?
Hey, what's a woo this day?
Hey, Dave.
What's going
Is
on?
that a party rocker?
Yeah, it is. It is, man. Thank you for jigging with me last night, man.
Absolutely. What's up?
Hey, check this out. Man, with me working in the mental health field when I lived in Montgomery and now, doing what I do now, I think back to my oldest son, and this is what I'm saying is people have to know how to deal with children. Okay, teachers have to know how to deal with children. Adults have to know how to deal with children. I often say this. I say there's no such thing as a bad kid. It's a crazy parent.
Mm.
Because I say that because my son, when he was smaller, he couldn't take standardized tests. He could do the homework, he could make all the grades, but if
Uh-huh.
you put it in a standardized test form, he couldn't take it. So if it meant him taking a standardized test, he would fail. So a teacher sat back and said, you know what, I'm gonna change the narrative for him. I'm gonna let him take his test like it's his homework.
Mm.
And when she let him take it like it was his homework, then he started passing his test. So, but before that happened, his mom was like, well, they say he's got this and he's got that. So we're going to put him on some medicine.
Mhm.
And I was like, nah, I work in that field. I'm not going to put him on no medicine.
Yeah.
Because if we put him on medicine instead of taking time with him, then when these children are third grade, fourth grade, second grade, whatever, and these parents are putting these kids on this medicine, now when he turns 13, he or she turns 13, 12, whatever, and they want to come off this medicine, you want to take them off this medicine, then all of a sudden they're bad. No, they're not bad. This baby been living since he was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old with
Exactly.
Ritalin, Wellbutrin, Adderall, Zyprexa, all this stuff in him every day. So now you take him off of it or her off of it, and now she's
You know,
It's
she's withdrawal.
withdrawals. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
it's
she
just
don't
like
know
any
how to.
other addiction.
Right, she don't know how to cope. So with that being said, I had a partner when I was in school who he was the epitome of what people consider a dumb jock. He couldn't do
Okay.
nothing. Football was his life.
Mhm.
He could not learn in word form, but if you allowed him to talk to you about it, and he took a public speaking class with me, if you let him talk about it in football, he'll make straight A's. So what my teacher did was to not fail him. He let him put all his narratives in football form. The
Oh.
boy made straight A's until now. He's a successful football coach in South Carolina.
Okay, so it
You
had
see,
like in that situation, they really had to find what worked for him, and then having the
yeah,
people around to actually to cultivate it.
you had to think about it. Anybody who's super successful, Prince, Michael Jackson, Liberace,
Hmm.
uh, Elton John, people, you have to have some form of crazy in order to be that successful, because what you do is not going to make sense to people. But like you said, you're just hyper focused. You have to be hyper focused to hone in on what you're working on to make it successful.
Yeah.
So everybody who is super successful at what you do, you have to have some form of crazy. You
Mm,
have to.
thank you.
You have to. No problem.
That makes sense to me. A friend of mine the other day was just like, I know a lot of people don't always get you, woo, but I just wanted to say I got you. I was like, okay, thank you, but what you trying to say? Like, first of all, where you going with that? But I appreciate it. Hey,
Was
JR.
you sneak this in?
He was like, I know, people don't always get you as they should. Like I do feel like there should be some mystery to you. It gotta be a
I'd
little
have been looking at
mysterious,
her
Blue.
like, what?
I was just like, oh, thank you. Anywho, that was pretty good. That's pretty good right there. So as you see, once you start talking about mental health in different arenas, different, different ways, the conversation becomes easier. And one thing about what I do on a daily basis, I love group work because basically in the groups, this is what it becomes. It's just like this. So like we have this conversation. I like to use a form. My favorite method of therapy is narrative therapy. I like people's stories. Tell your story, and I'm going to do my job at facilitating the conversation and put some interventions in there. But we're going to sit around, we're going to talk. It may be that today we talk about how many of us have lost a loved one. Everybody's lost somebody at a certain time, or maybe grieving right now, mourning or whatever right now. So, what can this group bring to the people that would make somebody leave either, learning a skill, feeling better, maybe feeling worse, but realizing that hey, I need more of this. So like that is the beauty of group therapy. So basically, y'all getting a free therapy session talking about how I was coming up, thinking that you were just so different that nobody's gonna ever understand, and now half the world understands. Wow, all you had to do is talk about it. So one of the callers earlier did ask a question about when families see somebody going through whatever it may be, like whatever their situation is that they're going through, and it may turn into substance abuse or the behavior becomes erratic, and everybody just kind of, you know, I wish I could see my face. It's like that walking on eggshells face. Like, okay, we
Mhm.
cool. This the favorite uncle. This auntie so and so. Granddaddy act like that type thing, but nobody's really having that tough conversation. There's no interventions being done. And then either we lose the loved one to like they die, or they go to prison, or they're injured, or they injure somebody. Like something drastic happens, something really dramatic and drastic happens, and then now all of us are woe is me. Why is it so hard for us to have conversations with other people about their mental health?
Well, we feel like we feel your family knows some of your secrets, so we scared to say something because I know you ain't talking. You did that and the other. But I want to get like a solution. The bumper cars, they'll drive till they hit a wall and they'll bump and go in another direction. I feel like when the family represents that bumper car, that you need to form a circle, a support circle around them so that they can bump off your walls instead of bumping off other walls that might cause somebody else or themselves danger. And hopefully, eventually, they will stop doing whatever it is they're doing. Um, but just like, and I'm using myself as an example. You know, my mama asked me one time, "Are you not tired of going to jail?" Because
Mm.
even my dog get tired.
Oh,
You know,
that's where that came from. She said
yeah,
it then.
my mom said it all the time.
Oh.
But I mean, she said it then. But it was like at some point, because I had that support system that I didn't know that I thought was against me, they just created those barriers to keep me going off the ledge. And until it was able to click in my head, okay, I am tired of going to jail. I am tired of having to pay these people money to watch me, supervise me, and paying all this restitution, and I ain't even getting nothing. You know, stuff like that. And but had I not had that support system that served as a cushion, you know, kind of like, you know, you in the same room where it's all the walls padded. You in there so you can't hurt yourself. So my people, they just provided that protection for me, and I think that's what we need to be. And so, not only does the individual need help today, the
The
family
whole
who's
system.
the family going through it. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? I mean, just like I was talking to two people this week that are struggling being caregivers. Like they struggling. And so it's messing with their mental. They like, man, I don't supposed to be feeling like this by my family member, but I'm feeling it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's man, it's so much to mental
Mental
health
health is
and
everything.
with the family. I feel like mental health should be free. I feel like mental health should be a part of your probation whenever you get in any kind of troubles with the law, because maybe it might be as simple as you needing somebody to channel your anger through. And maybe when they get out, they at least got a foundation. You know what I'm saying? I just think it needs to be more common than because like right now it's like I mean, if you think about the girl that got killed that had the knife.
Yeah.
She was
In the system.
she was having she had lost it. She got tired of being bullied and she picked up a knife.
Look, and then you think about the system. She was in the system,
Right.
which means that you're away from your family system. So I want to be very clear about, you know, a lot of people say, well, what kind of therapist are you? I'm a couples and family therapist. Who makes up couples and families? Individuals, meaning that I can sit with anybody with any particular situation. My focus is normal. I like trauma. Like I know that sounds crazy, but I like trauma is where people's pain is, but I think that their pain is where their purpose is. That's where you find resolve. Like if you can really get into what happened to you and how that made you think and how that made you respond, now we can start working.
And that's what I had to do with myself,
Yeah.
especially when it came to like talking about abuse and everything. Like with my dad, he was on drugs and he died because of that.
Hmm.
And for a long time after his death, I was angry with him, but I had to come to the fact that this man was going through things, and the only coping that he got was drugs. I can't be mad at him because now as an adult, there are things
Like
that
I
I go
see.
through that I run to cope with. So I can't be mad. I
You
understand.
said run the coke.
Cope.
They,
I thought you said run the coke. I was
oh
like,
no,
oh
Like,
Lord.
dang,
no, no,
sis.
no, I'll do,
She being transparent.
I don't do no coke.
but
It sound like coke. No, I run the coke. I was like, oh.
but no,
Look, that's vital.
No.
but yeah, I had to understand like that was his relief.
Hmm.
And for a long time I used to think like, and that created behaviors with me like, okay, I'm his daughter, I'm not enough for you to be happy.
So then another
And
issue.
that created more things with me growing up.
Yeah.
And that's when I had to sit down and I had to say, no, you know what you go through as an adult right now. Yeah.
How old were you when your dad died?
I was 19. But
Okay.
he was on drugs from when I can remember as a young child. So
And then you think about when you see people suffer and you don't realize that it's suffering, but then they're no longer suffering and you're relieved because now I was talking to somebody else about this. When you have relatives who are going through and they are, you don't know where they are, you don't know if they eating, you don't know if somebody done beat them up, you don't know if they getting some bad dope, you don't know what's going on. But then something does happen to where either they are hospitalized or they die, and you feel this relief, but it's some guilt because like, dang, I shouldn't feel this way about them not being present, but at least now I know that they're okay.
right.
I just had this conversation with somebody who lost somebody to substance use. Like it was many nights where they would have to answer the phone calls like early, early morning when the phone should not be ringing. So they knew it was something, but never wanted to be okay. Yeah, we need you to come identify the body or something like that. But she said once we got that final call, it was some relief there.
Yeah.
I was like, wow,
Because at one point I wouldn't even answer my dad's phone calls
wow,
because I knew it was pertaining to, can you let me borrow $10 here and there? And I knew what he was using it for. So I was like, no, I don't want to talk to you. And up to the time, like right before he died, he was trying to call me, and my granddad would be like, my granddad wasn't a big fan of my dad at all,
hmm
but he was like, he's trying to call you. He keep calling you every day because I was in college still, man. He was like, he's trying to talk to you. You need to call him. I don't want to talk to him because I already know what he want. And I was like, well, if I would have answered the phone,
would
could
it
have
have been
made a
different?
little difference, but it wouldn't have because he was gonna go do what he did.
Yeah,
Just so happened it was a bad batch. So
You know what I think?
wow,
And my final thought for the day, I feel like when you ignore your psychological problems, that it doesn't just affect you, it will affect your family.
for
hmm
sure.
It
And
will
people who care about
they
you.
care about you, yeah. And that's the end game, that they will be hurt
right.
in some kind of way. And so I just feel like it's just imperative like to go and get some help. Like, and not only like I go to a doctor like maybe once or twice a year, but I have a network of friends that serve as my, what I'm saying, therapist, that I can talk to, and that'll get me straight if I need to get straight. And and like it's so helpful to know that I got a network of friends that'll help me create those barriers. So if I need to bump some anger or some frustration off, that I can go to them and do it. Because
Yeah.
I've learned that just talking about it, just being able to blow sometimes is like that pressure relief valve, that just, it saves my life and other lives.
Right. Like, wow.
Yeah.
We have to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You have to be able to do that. Um, a myth, I guess, is that therapists are perfect.
Mm-mm.
And I'm like,
Look at it like mechanics.
what?
Mechanics had the raggediest car.
What?
Lawmen had the highest grass.
Because
You
we
know,
tending to everybody else,
my
right?
wife ain't had no eye exam in forever, and I'm like, you need one because you can't see literally. So it's like usually, therapists are probably so good at what they do because they've either done it or doing it. You know what I'm
Let me
saying?
find you a bill, sir. So yeah, that part. And we have a whole month of this conversation, but I wanted to touch on that simply because Lady Wu the weekend warrior and Lady Wu the therapist are one and the same. I would sit like when I'm out even now and I'm having an awesome time. I'm still always like my profession is my calling. It's who I am. So like when I'm out and about, I'm looking and I'm like, dang, wonder what his story is. And then like I may see somebody doing something that's like
I do that too.
different, and I'm like, wow. And sometimes, that'll give me the motivation that I need to keep going. Because you can get overwhelmed with people and their stuff. And so another thing is that I'm gonna take a lot of time off so that I can stay sane. But like when you really pay attention to people and you want to know why people do what they do, and then you start caring about people and you see why they do what they do, then you want to help fix them. It's a lot of work for all of us to do. It's not just my job. It's not just your doctor's job or your psychiatrist or your psychologist's job. It's a lot of work for all of us to do, to check on each other, to be concerned about each other. But the first thing is to be concerned about ourselves. That self-care, it is mandatory. So what do you do for self-care, Blue?
Ooh, I take a bath.
Okay.
Like I,
That's good.
that's like, man, that's the best thing in my life right now.
So being able to take a bath, like sit in the tub and just sit in
When
the
ain't
tub.
nobody bother me, I'm just in there,
Okay.
just chilling.
Okay. That's yours. I don't like that one. Okay. I get the itching after you sit in the tub too long. Saying
Your
what's
pearl.
yours? Yeah, I don't like
I
that.
like to just put in some headphone sets and just journal. I'm
Okay.
like Moesha, I guess. I just put on certain type of music and I can tell I have like 10 journals that I haven't even written in, but I know
Girl,
it's coming because this, like, I have so many journals stacked up of things. I just, when I get to writing, I can't stop.
that's the Libra in you. You
Yeah.
just like how they look. I like that journal. Okay, but you actually write. Do you go back and read what you write?
And I do. I go
Okay.
back and I read it, and it's like, wow, all that was suppressed in, huh? And I can't sit and talk to people about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
But
good man.
with journaling, I have become a little bit more comfortable with saying, this is why I'm like this and that,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps a lot.
Okay.
When they had put me on the psych unit one time to see what was wrong with me, I was writing a journal every day. So like when stuff get hard, I go get that journal and I
Yep.
read it, man. I've been thinking about making it into a book.
Mm-hmm.
Cause that puts so much stuff in perspective. I realize I ain't, man, there's folks in here that's like certified, straight up, like got some issues, and I'm around here just pouting. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And so like that junk's so therapeutic and inspiring to go back and read old journals. Um, and I am done it. I think I need to do it now just to kind of just be like, man, I was here and now I was there and now I'm here.
Yeah.
Like
It's
that's
so important.
that
Like
junk.
it is very important to see from whence you've come, like to remember, like for me, because when I ask questions, I like to answer questions as well. What do I do for self-care? I like to have a good time. So I'm an extroverted, rarely introvert, but I know when I need to refuel myself and get realigned. So like that's the only time I'm really an introvert. But I like to get out and be social. I like to have a good time. So brunch, going out with my friends or with boo or with my like whatever it is, I like to be out. And that's my self-care. Taking a good nap. Like I ain't don't call me, whatever. Like that's self-care. Not for me, everybody knows this. Not answering the phone is self-care. Like text me and if I need to answer, we can talk. But talking and listening.
They gonna get that voicemail and say text me.
Yeah, like talking and listening, that takes a lot. So, like, if you need to talk to me, let me know that you need to talk to me. If not, text. Boom. Simple. That's self care for me. People have to respect people's forms of self care.
Yeah.
That
And I
part
think
too.
the self-care, if you got to announce to everybody every time you
Woohoo.
do self-care, that ain't self-care. Like, just do it. Like, just don't make it a post on Facebook. Just do it. Like, just
Like,
do it.
just do it.
Just do it.
Right.
Unplug.
It's
Like,
self.
yeah,
Self.
it's self. It's for you. It ain't for nobody else.
Right.
I remember I tried to do it, Blue. I tried to like log off Facebook, and somebody called me and was like, "I was where's your page? I was looking for you. Don't do that without not letting us know." Once again, I was like, "Am I to be flattered, or is this like a thing? What is this?
I'm like, this is creepy.
Because I've had people that
What is
hit
this?
me up and say, "Well, I ain't seen you on Facebook today. I don't have nothing to say, but I need you to say something because
Because
you
you my
say
help."
something funny and make me laugh." Okay, you need something else then, because I
Now I do see a lot of people on Facebook, and I be like, they're crying out. They're crying
Crying
out. I
out.
can read it. I can read it. I
I
got
feel
this
it through the
gift of
words.
discernment,
Yeah.
and I just be seeing it. And every now and then I hit them up and just be like, "You okay? You all right? You know, you been on my mind." And they'll be like, "Yeah." A lot of times they won't tell me then, and I understand it. I don't try and pressure. I just, I just want to just hand out that offer. You know what I'm saying, to talk, and if people feel like talking, they'll talk.
Yeah, for real. And then a lot of people are waiting on opportunity to talk and to share with somebody. So hopefully tonight we shared with you some things that were encouraging, some things that make you know that mental health, mental awareness, mental illness, mental wellness, medication, conversation, education are all okay. It's okay. It is okay. All right. And then when it's not okay, it's okay to say, "Hey, I'm not okay." It's okay for you to do whatever it is you need to do to be okay. Um, there's a commercial that we play here on the air, and I feel like it's okay for me to tell you that yes, you can call me, especially if I don't, it's 6 degrees of separation. Birmingham is small, so a lot of times I'll meet with people and they're like, "Well, so and so, so and so." Nope, I don't. Okay, so you don't have to be ashamed of who you know or what your story is. If you feel comfortable talking to somebody that looks like you, sounds like you, from the same neighborhood that you're from, you can call me 205-452-0111. If I can't care for you, there is somebody who can. And there is a whole network of licensed professional people who are not out here just giving advice. So if you are looking for a therapist, you're not looking for an advice giver or a mind reader, you may be ready to do some work. You may be ready. And if you are, that's how you can reach out. 452-0111. You can go on Psychology Today. You can Google looking for a therapist in my area, and it'll take you to tons of people who are licensed professionals. And I put a lot of emphasis on licensed because you don't want somebody that's just practicing or that's just talking or trying to coach. You want somebody that knows what they're doing. And just so happens that there are a lot of us around. There's 3 on this show.
You gotta want somebody who was strong enough in the mind to invest in, like, that's your gift, that's your calling. Why not go and make yourself stronger by becoming licensed?
Yeah. Yeah. Like whatever it is. If it's a licensed tree cutter, what they say, licensed and bonded. Like you want people that can stand on what they do and know that they are the best. So there you go with that part of it. And I said, and I stand on that there are people waiting to help you. What else? The whole month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So next Sunday, the conversation may be about Black people and mental health and social justice. There's a big piece of social justice when it comes to mental health. That speaks about police brutality, PTSD, how we feel about when we see the blue lights, which is a conversation we've been having over and over again, but it's playing into our psyches. So we may go there. On the third Sunday, we're going to talk about dating, mating, and relating and mental health. That's going to be a good one. That's going to be good.
Crazy.
Okay. That one is going to be really good. On the fourth Sunday, we're going to wrap it up. Unless it's a fifth Sunday, we'll talk more about mental health in so many different ways. So stay tuned for those conversations. Check us out with our conversation throughout the week on all of our social media pages and sites. Vital Show everywhere: YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We everywhere. And then our personal pages, you can find us also. If you have anything that you want to talk about, let me know. You can email me at iamladywoo@yahoo.com and hear me every day right here on this same radio station, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in Lady Woo's Midday Feng Shui.
Yeah.
All right. What y'all got? Anything before we go? Nothing going on this week?
Love yourself.
Love yourself.
Push through.
Push through. Amen. Okay. Since you don't have nothing, was that good? You gonna let the pastor have the last words?
Amen.
All right. Y'all have a good night. Be vital. All right, everyone. We are out of here tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in, for your comments, for your everything. We appreciate it. Y'all have a good night. Bye.